and we have a special guest on the show today. This man wrote the amazing, incredible New Edition story that aired last week on BET. Mr. Abdul Williams, what's going on? Welcome to the program, sir.
Hey, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
All right. Now, first, man, I mean, the first question that I have is, what has this experience been like, man? I know it had to been, crazy for you, especially this last week or so.
Yeah, last week has been pretty overwhelming. That's probably the word I can best use. But it's just been gratifying because this is the culmination of about 11 years of hard work. Wow. To get to this point, and I'm just glad that people feel it. You know what I mean? That they dug the movie and appreciated what we did, and for a lot of us, myself and the executive producer Jesse Collins. I mean, we've been in it from the very beginning. He brought me in, and like I said, 11 years to get here. So I'm just very gratified.
Wow. So 11 years. What took it so long? Why was the process so laborious like that?
It was normally movies don't take this long to do.
Right.
But this one was kind of a special case. It started with, I got a phone call from Jesse in the summer of 2006. We knew, we didn't know each other, but we had friends in common. He had read a project that I had written that was set in the music industry. And he thought I might have the right voice for it. So he called me and he's like, would you have any interest in writing a movie about New Edition? And I said, yeah, of course. He's like, well, it's not set up anywhere. I don't have any financing. There's no guarantee there's going to be any money at the end of this, but you're willing to try. I was like, yeah. I was like, yeah, that's exactly the kind of project I'm looking for. So basically, he was like, well, before we, move any further, like, I got to see if the guys vibe with you. The way Jesse knew them is because Jesse produces a lot of the award shows that we watch all the time. He produces the BET Awards. He produces the Grammy Awards, Rip the Runway, BET Hip Hop Awards. And back in that time, one of the projects he was doing was BET's 25th anniversary show. And New Edition, as you know, from watching the movie, were the headliners of it. So that was his first experience. He knew the guys, but that was his first experience, like seeing how they work and how they don't work, and like what the nitty gritty of it all was. And so he was talking to him. He's like, there's a movie in this. And they agreed. They had been wanting to do that for many years. So long story short, he calls me. I say I'm down. He puts me on the phone with, to start, he put me on the phone with Mike and Ricky, which is supposed to be just kind of like a little introductory call, get to know you. But then they just started telling me stories. And, being the writer I am, I had my notebook handy, and I just started writing them down. They were like, let me tell you about the time we met Curtis Blow. Let me tell you about this. Let me tell you about that. And it was just fascinating. And, before I know it, we're on the phone, hour or so. That went well. And then Jesse's like, all right, well, let's see if Ralph will talk to you. And, we'll have the guys called, and let's see if Ronnie will talk, And it just went on like that. Me going one by one, getting everybody's story. Not just them, like everybody connected to them, bodyguards, managers, record label execs, all the way going back to their past, lawyers, everybody, to kind of piece together what this story was. And why did it take 10 years? Part of it was when we initially couldn't secure the life rights. We sold it in 2007 to Paramount, but they couldn't close the life rights, and then the Writers Guild strike happened, which meant that I couldn't work on it for 6 months or something. And then by that time, we lost our momentum. They put it on the shelf, but they wouldn't let it go. And it took a long time to find the right home for it. And, thankfully, BET stepped up. They had wanted it from the very beginning. And we got the right team in place. They were able to pull it out. And here we are.
Oh, wow. That's great. That movie. Oh, my gosh. I can't even talk. It was so good. And those people that you guys casted, whoever the casting director, I mean, everything about that movie was amazing. And I've seen it about 2 times already. All 3 parts.
On the casting tip, I got to give respect to the great, legendary Robbie Reed, was our casting director. And if that name sounds familiar to you, you've been seeing her name in credits for years and years. I mean, she was in the Spike Lee camp. So, like, Do the Right Thing, Malcolm X, Jungle Fever, all those joints, Brooklyn, Robbie cast those. And so many more credits that she has, like so many iconic things that she's done. I couldn't even begin to list them all, and we were just really fortunate. And she was the main one that found us all that talent.
Yeah, it was amazing. She did an amazing job. Now, I know that you also wrote The Lottery Ticket as well, with starring Bow Wow and some other people. So what made you decide to begin to pick up a pen and start writing movies?
Wow. I always was interested in it, even from when I was a little kid.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of just wrote, everything from short stories to poetry, just whatever in my spare time. But I never thought it was like something that I could have as a career. I'm originally from Cleveland. Not that says you can't, have a career.
Right.
Because a lot of Cleveland folks do.
Mm-hmm.
But it just, it looked to me like you would see credits on the screen, and I was like, well, that's a job for somebody else. Like that, I could never do that.
Mm-hmm.
But I ended up coming out here out of college. I got some internships in the film industry, and one of my early ones was I was a reader, which meant like a lot of times in those days, and they still do, production companies or producers, excuse me, they get like a lot of scripts, like so many that come in, they can't possibly get through them all. So they would hire real low-level cats like myself to read them, and, you write what's called coverage, a book report about it, tell them what you think. Would this be a good movie? Would it not? And that was essentially my film school. I was reading thousands of scripts, some really great ones, some not great ones, and just kind of learning. And then what that taught me, though, was I was like, well, my little stories that I got, are as good as some of the stuff that I'm reading. And this guy got rep by CAA, and this guy, sold this to Universal. So I was like, well, maybe I can do it.
Mm-hmm.
So that was the spark right there. And then, just to real sum up my career, I was working for a lot of different producers. I went from place to place. I've worked for some amazing people. Directing in Carl Franklin was one of my first early jobs. He directed Devil in a Blue Dress and One False Move and Out of Time, a lot of great movies. I went from there. I worked at Denzel Washington's company for about a year.
Oh, wow.
And, I just had really great mentors in the business. And the whole time I was writing my own stuff until I was able to finally branch out on my own. That was in 2003, where I was like, I'm either going to, write and be serious about this, and it's my only way to eat, or not.
Mm-hmm.
And I was fortunate that things have worked out.
Wow.
We're talking with Abdul Williams, the writer of the incredible New Edition story. One of the things that I want to ask you is, what has it been like to see the response from the audience? I know, anytime that you're in any type of art situation, whether it's music or movies or whatever, you write it, you put it together, but you really don't know how the audience is going to respond. Like, you have an idea, but you really don't know for certain. Yeah. So talk about, how you felt to see the embrace of the movie.
It's amazing. It's amazing. I mean, social media, from when I first started in the business to now, social media is so important to all of us. And let me just tell folks out there who tweet and who Instagram and all that and Facebook, we see you. I see it. The director sees it. Because, like, we all, you want to know. Like, you put all this hard work in, you're like, are people digging it? And you read the reviews, and the reviews have been great, too. And I'm very thankful to those folks that gave good reviews. But who we made the movie for was us. And so, like, I'm reading it. Black Twitter gave us so much love, and they still are. And some of the things they've written is so funny. It just has me on the floor. You know what I mean? But that just shows that we reached them. We connected. You know what I mean? They felt it. They got mad where they were supposed to get mad. They cried where we hoped they would. They got up out their chair and sang and did the steps. And I'm seeing now, like, the If It Isn't Love challenge and all this kind of joy. So it's been great. And by the way, New Edition, the real New Edition in Brooke Payne, they see it all too. Mm-hmm. And I think the thing that has made me most happy is that they're proud of it and they're happy with it, because that was my real goal. Them and their lifelong fans. I wanted to make them happy first. That's the base. And these guys trusted me to write their story, and they opened up to me and were honest about their victories, their setbacks, really painful things, all kinds of stuff. Mm-hmm. And I took that very seriously. That they put this trust in me, and in Jesse Collins, and in Chris Robinson, our amazing director. And we were like, yo, we can't mess this up. Black America will hate us. You know what I mean? So we had that pressure on us, and we knew it. You know what I mean? Because we all grew up as fans, dig? You know what I mean? So, like, we didn't want to let anybody down, and especially New Edition, who trusted us with this. So the response has been amazing. We love it. It just shows hard work, attention to detail, all that kind of stuff. It pays off. I mean, there was so many years where this movie just lived in my head and on my computer.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And in many years, when I with the tough times, when it was just seemed like we were stuck in the mud, and people would ask me, who knew me for a while, like, yo, when is New Edition coming out? And I was like, man, New Edition ain't never gonna happen. You know what I mean? Like, it got to the point I couldn't even listen to the songs. Like, songs would come on, and all this solo and I would turn because it was too painful. Because I would always think, like, damn, we're never gonna get our shot.
Right.
But a few things broke in our favor. It also kind of helped somebody like Straight Outta Compton helped a lot. You know what I mean? Just letting folks see like what the level that this can be. You know what I mean? As storytelling, and even some of the ones that didn't quite get it right, all of it helped because people were interested. You know what I mean? Like they tuned in, whether they tuned in to clown it or not, but they were interested, and that's what networks and corporations need to see, that there's an interest there.
Yeah, and I think that is one of the things that helped benefit the movie, because I don't know, like when people heard that it was going to be a biopic, I don't know if everybody had as high of expectations as they probably should have, because with biopics, a lot of times they're hit or miss, and we've seen some really bad ones, and so I think that's really it really helped benefit your movie because it was so good and it was so well done.
Well, thank you. And I'll give all the credit to them. The main reason I think a biopic works or does not work, if possible, you've got to have the person that it's about involved. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
Ray Charles was involved in Ray before he passed. NWA was involved in Straight Outta Compton. And New Edition were not just involved, they were producers. Like, they were there. They were on set. They worked with their actors. They worked with me, sometimes line by line, like, yo, I wouldn't say it like that. And I'm like, okay, how would you say it? So, like, that's the difference, you know what I mean? As opposed to you just rush something out kind of on the slick and doing something like, I got enough. I can Google, what happened. Not really. You gotta have those real personal stories. You know what I mean? You gotta get the inside. Don't just give the audience like what they could see, on YouTube or whatever. You want it to like go behind that. Like, yeah, I know you think you know this story, but let me tell you how it really went down. And that's only something you can get with the real people and those involved giving you that.
Okay, so earlier you had when Jessica was speaking, you had referenced that you had started writing at a younger age with like short stories and poetry and whatnot. It's kind of like a two-part question. A, do you remember what the first thing you ever wrote was? And B, do you have any type of advice for these young aspiring writers on like any of their early work and how to keep continuing with what they're doing?
Sure. All right, I'm going to tell you, the first thing I wrote, I was 10 or 11 years old. My mom bought me a typewriter. There was an episode, I'll never forget this, there was an episode of The Jeffersons that I saw where it was like a mystery or something. It was like he went to like some dinner theater and he had to solve a mystery. I don't know what it was about that sparked me, but I was like, I want to write a mystery. So whatever. It was inspired by that episode of The Jeffersons. I'm dating myself, you know what I mean? And my mom got that somewhere. She don't throw away nothing I ever did. So somewhere, my mother has that buried under a bunch of stuff. And what I would say to young writers, or you don't have to necessarily be young, like I'll say writers who are just starting out, is the toughest thing is seeing it through and finishing. Because, a lot of people will come up to you and be like, yo, I want to write, and I started this script and da-da-da-da, and then they hit a block, and then they just stop. And then I'll get back to it. And they never do. You know what I mean? So, like, there's two quotes that I kind of live by. One is, a writer writes, which means if you call yourself a writer, that means you really got to do it. Don't just be like, I write because you got a bunch of ideas that you wrote down in a notebook. You got to finish it. The other one is, writing is rewriting. You're never going to get it right that first draft. Even if you think you killed it, and maybe you did, but you always rewrite it. There's always going to be notes. A director comes on, they see it a certain way. Actor comes on, they interpret the character a certain way. I was rewriting on New Edition all the way through. I was on set every day, which is not always normal for a writer, but for this one it was necessary because we kept having script changes. There was only 2 days out of the 37-day shoot that I didn't rewrite something. You can't be freaked out about that, like, oh, my words, you can't change it. Nah, it doesn't work like that in the real world. If you really want to get something done, you got to be able to adapt. And that also, if you are willing to do that, then you can fight for the things that you say, well, this can't change. If you say that about everything, no one will take you seriously. Also, if you change everything, you take every single note, no one will take you seriously. You got to find that balance. So writing is rewriting and a writer writes. Those are the two pieces of advice.
Absolutely. We're talking with Abdul Williams, the writer for the New Edition story. And real quick before we let you go, one of the things that I want to know is, what was it like working with New Edition themselves? Like, was it added pressure because they were part of it and they were participating? And also, how was their interaction like? Were they getting along? Was the movie, because I've heard several interviews where they said that the movie was actually kind of cathartic for them and almost like it was a healing process and bringing the group closer together. So just talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, there was pressure in that we didn't want to get it wrong. And, you know, I mean, they're great. They're great. But, you know what I mean? They're also like, yo, you know what I mean? Like they would say things like, yeah, my dudes back in Boston, man, they go see that looks corny. No, it can't be like that. You know what I mean? Like, they're very much connected to that. You know what I mean?
Right.
And Brooke Payne is just as much. I mean, Brooke Payne, the best quote I ever heard about him was from Bobby. When I was interviewing him initially, and I was like, what was it like to, you know, do all those rehearsals with Brooke? And he thought about it, and he was like, man, Brooke cracks a silent whip. And I was like, yo, that's exactly how he is. He's a very much a taskmaster. He loves them. He's super invested. He cares, and he's super smart, but he's not about that BS.
Right,
you know what I
right.
mean? He expects that out of them and you. Anybody who's messing with him, he expects that. You got to bring it. So I felt like that little kid in the rec center, like, yo, I got to run a lap because, you know, that teenage popping. I got to go back in, you know. So it was that, but it was all out of love, and it was all out of, you know, getting it right. And in terms of the healing, that was probably the most gratifying part of this process, right? And I've had conversations with them before and since, and actually since the movie's come out, just, you know, I won't share all the details of that, but just thanking me and the whole team, Chris, Jesse, you know, and countless others who I couldn't name, because New Edition needed this. You know what I mean? Like this,
right.
It was like when I would interview them initially, they would tell me these stories, and they would tell me about, like, man, and then he did this and something, this and this and this, and I never forget, you know. And I was like, yo, did you ever tell him that? No, I never told him that. And I'd be like, but you'll tell me. You don't even know me.
Right.
But yet this man, you can go on stage with him every night, go in the studio, go on the road, pose for them album covers, and you harboring something that happened in 1986, your mama or something like that, and you never said anything. But that's just how they are. They're professionals. They, you know what I mean? And you know, just being real, how a lot of men do, particularly black men.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
A lot of things now. You know what I mean? We don't always say it. We just push it down and then it explodes, right? So that was their pattern. And in this, they read the script. I'll never forget, we had like a retreat last year in January. And through all this time, all these 11 years of development, they had read the treatment. They heard me pitch it. But that was the first time we gave them all the script on a Friday night. They had 2 days to read the whole thing. And they were all going to be together in the same hotel. Then we show up on Sunday ready to hear it. And I'm thinking, like, well, they're either going to like it or somebody's going to try to take a shot at me. You know what I mean? So I was like, I was ready for anything, you know? But what they told me was they read it, they talked about it. I mean, they were in the room together for hours, and, like, some tears were shed. And the thing was, they were listening, and I heard, you know, Viv and them, they were doing, like, an interview somewhere, and they were like, you read it, you know you live these things, but now you get to hear what the next man thought about what you said and did.
Right.
You know, and so, like, they learn things about their own life, you know, having read this. And so it's allowed them to bridge a lot of things. It's allowed them to heal a lot. And it's an ongoing process, you know what I mean? And it will be. You know, I mean, the way I looked at it with New Edition, to really put this in context, imagine if you started a business with your best friends who you were friends with when you were 10 years old, and now you're 45 and almost 50, and you're still in business with them. Like, can you even imagine whoever your homie was at that age, y'all need each other, you know what I mean? And you've gone through all the ups and downs and fits and valleys, but at the end of the day, you'll always be connected. That's what this is. You're not the same person you were in the projects at 10 when you started this thing. You've grown a lot. You've changed, but yet, you know, so I'm giving you all these long-winded answers. I'm sorry about that. I don't even know.
Oh, no, this is great material. It's all good.
Thank you. Well, I'll say this. My theme for the movie, in terms of, like, what if there was any lesson or moral, it was accept your family for who they are, not for who you want them to be. I thought about that. I tried to, like, keep that thematic throughout the entire thing, because that's eventually the point that I wanted New Edition to get to. And it's a lesson I've had to learn in my own life, and probably most of us have.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
You know, you know what I mean? It is what it is. So that's, you know, and that's where they came to, and that's what that wedding scene was about. Like, that don't necessarily mean I'll forgive and forget and, you know, everything's, you know, lovey-dovey now. But if I want you in my life, I got to accept you for who you are, and I do. And I love you, and let's go forward. So that's where we were trying to get to.
Yeah, and I was reading a story that that the New Edition story brought in an average of 5.4 million viewers each night. I just want to say congratulations, because that is amazing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's huge.
It blew my mind. You know what I was thinking about? When they said the whole total of everybody that watched, and now I was like, I need to compare that to how many people voted last election.
Right. Hello.
As much as I appreciate it, if more people watch us than voted,
yeah,
that's kind of problematic. but I take it. I appreciate it. I'm glad that folks showed up for us, man, and I love it. I'm just glad everybody enjoyed the movie. It's a lot of hard work, but it was a labor of love, and I'm so gratified that people enjoy it.
Absolutely. Let everybody know how they can follow you, your social media, and all that good stuff.
I'm a dinosaur when it comes to social media. As much as I be like reading Twitter and Instagram, I don't do either. I'm just on Facebook, but I'm very open on that. You can hit me. You know what I mean? And you know, I'm happy to. I saw what you call it. It's funny. I was just on my Facebook feed today, and Woody McClain, who plays Bobby in the movie, like, we've been Facebook friends for a while now, right? And so I saw a thing today where he had to make an announcement like, "Yo, I've reached the max of friends I can't accept anymore." You know what I'm saying? Like, now you got a fan page or whatever. And like, it's funny because people are like, okay, now you know you made it. When like, you can't just be a regular Facebook person anymore. Now you got to have a fan page.
Right.
I'm not nearly there. So hit me up. You know what I mean?
Oh, you'll be there. You will definitely be there. Don't worry.
Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, man, for spending some time with us, man, and talking about the incredible movie, man. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, stay tuned. We'll be back with more of The Outlaws.